Hey everyone, it's Jonathan, and welcome back to our series on Disney's Peter Pan. Today we're talking about a Peter Pan spin off series, Jake and the Neverland Pirates. This is a show for little kids, so I really wasn't looking forward to watching this one, but I figured I better do my due diligence for the podcast. I asked Stanford to join me for this one since we were doing all the other Disney Peter Pan films, and I figured this would be a very quick episode because I didn't think we'd have a lot to say. However, we ended up talking for a lot longer than I expected, although we did have several rabbit trails along the way, which probably ended up making for a better episode anyway.
With Jake and the Neverland Pirates, we'll set the course together. Come on and join the crew. Yo ho, let's go!
I figure this is going to be a short one because we're not going to watch this whole show. I just kind of wanted to just acknowledge its existence and talk about what it was.
Yeah, I watched like 2.5 episodes or something.
Okay.
So at least have, an idea. Because I'd never seen it. I mean, I knew I was aware of its existence, but I'd never watched it.
Yeah, no, me neither. Like you, I knew of its existence. I guess I didn't know what it was because I was thinking it would be more story driven, but this really is a show for little kids.
Yeah.
Because it has the thing where like the kids like directly address the camera. There's just like purposeful fourth wall breaks throughout the show where they're talking to the children watching. So for a lot of this, I was kind of bored. Like I watched all the ones that I suggested we watch, plus an extra one because there was something that I wanted to watch before we talked just to see what it was. So I'll get there because I'll go through the ones that I suggested we watch, even if you haven't seen them all.
Yeah. John, I mean, this has been a few weeks. I think I watched the ones you suggested, but I only watched 2, so maybe I didn't. So sorry. My bad.
Which ones do you remember that you watched?
I watched some episodes from season 1, and so I honestly don't think that I watched the ones that you had suggested, unless they were from season 1. I know I watched the first episode.
Some of them were from season 1.
Okay.
The ones that I suggested were from season 1, 3, and 4.
Okay.
And then I ended up watching one from season 2 as well.
Okay.
Well, first, let's talk about the cast. Not that there's anything too notable, except we already talked about it in Return to Neverland. Captain Hook and Mr. Smee are Corey Burton and Jeff Bennett.
Yes.
I guess they have a parrot sidekick voiced by David Arquette.
Yes.
Which
is kind of random.
Yeah, very.
Yeah.
And then his singing voice was provided by Lauren Hoskins, which was notable because he also provides the voice for a character named Sharky, and there's another character named Bones voiced by Jeff Bennett, singing voice provided by Kevin Hendrickson, which I found out later are members of a pirate-themed rock band from Portland, Oregon.
Yeah, another random thing.
Yeah, apparently the show's creator, Bob's Ganaway, he wanted music to listen to while they were working on the show, and he just searched pirate music for kids, and he found a band called Captain Bog and Salty, and then he just listened to them while he was working on scripts, and then decided to reach out for them and see if they wanted to work on the show. So they ended up doing all the music for the show, plus being live action pirates at the end of every episode.
I think some of these people in children's programming, they have a lot of fun.
Probably
creating their creating.
Well, apparently this Captain Bog and Salty band are popular not just with kids, because it says that they do both children's venues like libraries and adult venues like nightclubs. So they're like all ages performers.
Oh, wow.
And like not every song was like a winner, like some were just kind of generic, but I could tell that they were putting a lot of work into them, and some of them would probably be good outside of the context of the show too. And apparently they've sold 3 soundtracks for the show. So apparently the music is well liked.
Hey, interesting. Kind of this niche stuff. I feel like, I'm not a dad, and I mean, I'm an uncle. I'm really close to my nieces and nephews, and so I think that's how I was aware of the program, because I had a little nephew that really liked the show, at the time. But, I just think it kind of creates its own culture, doesn't it? I think with parents listening to some of this music with their kids, or maybe just, again, independently, other kids, because it's something they can enjoy on their own too. But
Hmm.
it's its own thing for sure.
Yeah. Well, I know with a lot of kids shows, parents can end up like hating them
Yes.
because like repetitive elements and boring music or annoying music.
Yeah.
But apparently they found some kind of a niche where parents enjoyed this show because of the music along with their kids.
Yeah. It seems to me that like Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, which I believe is another show that Bob Ganaway worked on for
I think
Disney.
so.
And as I recall, they used like the band They Might Be Giants or something like that, like created some of their music. So
That wouldn't surprise me. I think They Might Be Giants has done kids music
yeah.
in the past. I don't know what all they've done.
And my apologies if I'm wrong on that, but it's fun. You know,
Yeah,
I know too some of my other friends who have children, their kids really got into the Wiggles. Do you remember the Wiggles?
I've never seen that. I know they're an Australian group.
Yeah, I was gonna say that they're an Australian set of performers, and I think they have a show and they've got albums and things. But I remember it was just kind of like part of the family ritual to put on some of these Wiggles, like some of this Wiggles music, like in the car, for example, and stuff
Hmm.
when they're driving to and from preschool or or whatever they were doing. And anyway, you can say it's just a whole nother market
Hmm.
that I'm just really not that closely familiar with at this point.
Well, I mean, it's a good idea. If you're going to be making a kids show, you might as well try and make it as appealing to the parents as well.
Oh,
Not just so they're not
seriously.
annoyed, but also because maybe they'll want to buy your stuff as well.
Exactly. And it seems like it's a smart business move in a lot of ways, right? If
Hmm.
you create music for it, and it seems to me that there were books and all sorts of stuff, even like with Jake and the Neverland Pirates, it seems to me that there were ways maybe, that I would see at the Disney store or something. Again, not paying close attention, but it had a pretty identifiable logo and
Hmm.
Captain Hook and all that stuff.
Hmm. Well, the only other notable thing about the people behind the show that I wrote down was all the kids were kind of like a revolving cast. Like as soon as they'd hit puberty, they'd be replaced. But two of the kids, well, at least two. I guess I don't recognize any of the other names. I recognize the name Madison Pettis, who voiced the pirate girl Izzy,
Okay.
and Cameron Boyce voiced Jake. And neither of them like stayed on the show for the entire run of the series. Jake, I think,
Okay.
had four different voice actors, and Izzy had two.
Okay.
But I think they both were big into Disney. And Cameron Boyce, I think he died a few years ago.
Yeah, didn't he die kind of like a tragic? Yeah,
I don't remember what happened. It
I don't remember what happened
it might have
either.
been something like a random heart attack or something. Like it was I think it was some undiagnosed thing. I probably should look that up so I don't spread
Well, I
misinformation.
just checked because he died at age 20, just before Descendants 3 premiered on Disney Channel. So he
Oh
was
yeah.
he was in that series, or at least that particular version of it. And I've seen some of that Descendants stuff, and it's completely left my brain because um,
I haven't
intentionally.
seen any of it yet.
Be grateful.
I
It was
figured I
like,
probably would eventually,
yeah,
just like for a podcast episode,
yes, that's
but
why I did it.
it wasn't something that was like, oh, I've got to see this.
But he died at age 20 due to complications from epilepsy.
Yeah.
So
So it
anyway,
was a
bad.
surprise.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I remember him from he was on a show called Jesse when he was much younger.
Oh yeah. This says Jesse. This that started in 2011.
Yeah. Actually, that probably would have been around the time of Jake and the Neverland Pirates too.
Jesse was a big deal, wasn't it? Wasn't it really a popular sitcom
Yeah.
on Disney Channel?
I don't remember if I ever watched it all the way through, but there was a period of time in the early 2010s where my cousin and I would just watch Disney Channel stuff just because we wanted something fun after work.
Yeah.
And that was one of them we watched for a while. I don't know that, I think we kind of got out of that phase maybe in the middle of Jesse, so I don't know that I ever finished the series. But it was a pretty fun show. It wasn't one of the absolute favorites, but it was fun enough. They had good kids.
Okay. Yeah. Just again, one of those just Disney Channel sitcoms that are just wildly popular, right? And kind of launched the careers for a lot of these
Yes.
child actors.
Yeah. Well, the main character, Jessie, was Debbie Ryan, and she started on, it was the spin-off to the Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, Sweet Life on Deck, the one where they're on a cruise ship.
Where they're on the cruise ship.
And then
Yeah.
she went on, she's now acting in like regular stuff. And I think the same with the oldest girl in the show, Peyton List. She's now an actress, I believe.
What was the premise of Jessie? Was it a family comedy?
She was the nanny to four adopted, like it was supposed to be a, what's the name? Which big celebrity is the one that adopts kids from all over the world?
Angelina Jolie.
Yeah, it was supposed to be like a fictionalized version of her and her husband. Like the parents were almost never in the show. They were like jet setting all over the world, doing all of whatever they were doing. So it was Jessie the nanny along with their butler Bertram. They were basically raising these four kids that they had adopted from all over the world. Actually, I think the oldest girl might have been their biological child, and then the three younger were adopted, I believe. It's been a long time since I watched that show.
No, so that's interesting because I know I've never seen I just again remember seeing an ad or something for it, but or a poster. Madison Pettis, she was in Cory in the House, and I remember ads for that show, but also I never watched it.
I haven't seen that one. There was a period, like when I was a teenager, I watched all the ones that were happening. Well, we didn't have Disney Channel, so anything that was ported over to ABC on Saturday mornings, we'd watch all those.
You could watch it, yeah.
Yeah, and then there was a period of time where we didn't like after I got a job, like we didn't watch TV on Saturdays anymore, and I don't know what all they still had. And then it was like in the early 2010s, I sort of kind of got back into that and started looking for them to watch with my cousin because we just kind of missed watching that kind of stuff. And then we watched for a few years. We watched like Good Luck Charlie, Shake It Up. There was one called Ant Farm for a while.
Okay.
And then around that time is where we kind of fell off of that. And
yeah,
that was about the time where I started getting into like YouTube and podcasting is when I stopped regularly watching that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Cory in the House, it debuted in 2007, and it's a spinoff of That's So Raven.
Yeah. I remembered that, and I remembered wanting to see it because of that, because That's So Raven is still one of my favorite Disney Channel shows.
Yeah.
But I still have never seen Cory in the House. Even there was one episode that I wanted to see that had Raven in it. I still haven't tracked it down to watch that. I'm sure it's on Disney Plus. I probably can watch that.
Yeah, I think it is.
Anyways, we should probably talk about Jake and the Neverland Pirates.
Now that we've covered Disney Channel in other ways.
Yeah, I don't think I have tons to say because I didn't watch that many episodes. The first episode was basically an introduction to it, and that's where I realized, like, oh, it's that kind of preschool show.
Right, that kind of preschool show, interactive, gentle, whatever conflicts they have, they're pretty gentle, pretty preschool friendly.
Yeah, like in the second half of the first episode, I think Captain Hook steals a seashell, and they have to get it back.
And there's counting and shapes and colors and
whenever they solve a pirate problem, magical gold doubloons appear and they have to collect them. I was like, this feels like a video game.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was the thinking behind that or not.
I'm with you because again, whatever episodes of like Mickey Mouse Clubhouse that I watched with one of my nieces or nephews, that's the same sort of deal. They count, they problem solve.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so interactive. And
do kids like that? Do they do it with the show? Because I don't remember that happening when I was a kid.
I don't either. Because I mean, I love Sesame Street and whatnot. That I had as a kid, but I just don't remember they were posing those kind of questions. They were more. It seemed like it was more. They were just showing and telling versus kind of requiring feedback. Again, just with Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. And like Dora the Explorer, those, I know that was another show that my friends' kids loved was Dora the Explorer. And Dora, if I'm not mistaken, did the same sort of thing. And yes, my friends' kids would interact with the TV. They would shout out the answer.
I figured there must be a reason why they're doing it. It just it never was in a part of the shows I watched, so I didn't know if that was something kids actually liked or not.
Yeah, ditto. I know it's been a new invention, right? Since we were
Yeah.
in that, watching those shows.
Well, then the next episode that I watched was a two-parter, Peter Pan Returns. Did you watch that one? That was in season one also. That was the finale of season one.
Yes. Yes.
And there you get Peter Pan voiced by Adam Wiley, and the crocodile is in this one voiced by D. Bradley Baker, but he just makes noises.
He just does noises. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is where you find out where Peter Pan fits into all this. He apparently has left Neverland in the care of these pirates, the little kid pirates, while he's exploring the lands beyond the Never Sea. So that's why he's not in the show, but he just comes back once in a while.
Yeah.
And then the whole episode is about him trying to get his shadow back from the pirates, because his shadow escaped from him again, and it started pranking the pirates. So then they captured it, and then throughout this whole two-part episode is basically just the little kid pirates chasing the adult pirates all over the island trying to get the shadow back.
Yes.
It felt really stretched out.
Oh, absolutely. Again, you just tell instantly that, yeah, this is for preschoolers,
Mm-hmm.
I guess what I thought was cute about it, John, was that I like Peter Pan. I like the IP, right? And I love these Disney versions. I mean, I love the Disney character designs and whatnot. And I thought they did a nice job kind of stylizing Captain Hook and Mr. Speed and Peter Pan for this aesthetic, but still kind of keeping it like very identifiable as, oh yeah, that's
Mm-hmm.
Captain Hook, Peter Pan, and whatnot. But so that that part was appealing, but then when it turns so preschool, you're like, okay, I think I'm good.
Yeah. Well, then in season 2, there was an episode that I wanted to watch, but I never told you about this one. I just figured I would just watch it and report back, because I wanted to know, in Return to Neverland, there was a scene with Captain Hook showing Wendy a picture of his mother. And it was like, this is obviously a picture of Captain Hook in drag. And I knew that Captain Hook's mother was going to be in the show. And I wanted to know if she would actually look like him in drag. So I wanted to watch the first episode with Mama Hook. And yes, she looks like Captain Hook in drag.
Okay, so they went for it.
And she's played by Sharon Osbourne.
No way.
They have a ton of big guest stars in this show, like a ton of big guest stars.
Oh, that's hilarious. Karen Osborne of all people.
Yeah.
Ozzy doesn't show up, does he?
Not that I remember. Like, he didn't show up in anything that I watched. That would have been hilarious, though.
That is hilarious.
A missed opportunity if they didn't.
I know. Oh my goodness.
But yeah, this one wasn't, like most of these are not really that memorable. The whole point of the show, this episode, was that his mother is visiting and she wants to go treasure hunting with him. And then the kid pirates find a treasure map, so he decides he's going to follow the kids and steal the treasure from them to impress his mother. And then, like, these are pirates, but she scolds him for stealing the treasure, and he's crying and says he just wanted her to be proud of him. This is really ridiculous.
I'm just shaking my head.
And then they all decide to share the treasure, which turned out to be a gold tea set. So they have a tea and treasure party all together, the pirates and the children pirates.
Oh, that's so funny. Oh dear. I'm speechless. I kind of want to hunt that one down, John. Just watch it just
I mean, that was only the first half of the episode. I didn't make any notes on the second half, because most of these are split into two cartoons.
They split into two storylines each episode, right?
So yeah, if you want to spend 10 minutes watching Sharon Osbourne as Mama Hook, you could. It's episode 6, I guess. So
okay. Well, and again, I guess that's a good thing for the age group, right? Is that they're just have this kind of small little story that wraps up quickly, not too tricky to follow, and just perfect for the preschool set.
Yeah, and that makes sense. So I wonder why they would do that. Like, there's many 2-part episodes, so it's like a full hour,
Good
which
point.
doesn't seem to be a good idea for what this show is. And it always feels like the next episode that I wanted to talk about was from season 3, Battle for the Book. It's very, it's more of the same. Like they're just chasing the pirates around, except this time they have the Darling family in it as well.
Oh wow.
Because you go back to London and Wendy's telling her brothers the stories of Peter Pan, and they've redesigned them for the show, and I did not like the redesigns. Like they look similar, but Wendy's lips are like weird and puffy looking.
Oh wow.
I wasn't a fan of the redesigns.
Are they still at this like the same age as they are in
Yeah,
the animated film?
yeah, they're all the same
Okay.
ages. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
But then the gist of the story is that the pirates, for some reason, are watching them through a witch's tide pool, like a TV. And Captain Hook is mad about how all her stories are portraying him. So he's going to London to steal her book so he can destroy it. And then the whole episode is basically them chasing the pirates, trying to get the book back. And at some point, the book gets split up, so all the pages are flying around. So then they have to go and collect all the pages. And it's just, it felt way too long. I was
Oh
so bored.
wow. That is and weird,
Yeah,
right? Just like
it was weird. It was
what's
very weird.
this? Again, when they're going with these existing characters and storylines, I'm sure it's got to be tricky to try to come up with something creative and
Hmm.
interesting and keep, because that's a lot of episodes to create, right?
Yeah. Well,
For
it
for a
lasted for four
season.
seasons.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many episodes it was, but there was a lot. Because I think there was at least 20 in every episode or every season. Because, well, like the Peter Pan returns out, I think that was the season finale. That was episodes 25 and 26 of season 1. And then the last episode was the 20th episode of season 4. So there
Okay.
were a lot of episodes.
Yeah. I don't know. So you sometimes wonder how these ideas either they come up with them or they get like greenlit. But easy for me to say.
Well, the last episode was really weird too because the, it almost felt like a different show on the last episode. And at
Oh,
some point,
interesting. How? Because I didn't watch it, of course. I didn't see it. Yeah.
I think Jake got some sort of a promotion or something because the last episode it had a different beginning, and he was Captain Jake and the Neverland Pirates. They were all the same age, I think, but the Wendy and the boys were with them in the last episode. And I was like, so did they join them and stay on the island? But it was just like they were just randomly with them and they're pirates now, even though there was no explanation. Like from what I could tell, at least looking up like on the IMDb page, that their only credits were from the Battle of the Book episode and this one. So they just randomly decided that they're going to be pirates in the last episode and not explain it.
Oh dear. Sorry to laugh. It sounds so bad.
But this last episode revolved around Peter Pan finally returning from beyond the Never Sea with all the treasures that he'd collected, and Captain Hook is waiting for him to come back so he can steal all the treasures. But one of the treasures is the Doom Stone that can turn anything to stone, but every time it is used, it turns its user to stone a little bit more. So Hook steals it and turns Peter to stone. Like this is a preschool show. This does not feel like something to put in a preschool show. So the whole episode revolves around the kids trying to find a cure for Peter so that he's not a stone anymore. But Captain Hook is like turning extra evil every time he uses this. His voice is getting deeper. He gets a wardrobe change. And by the end of the show, he also gets turned to stone. And then it turns out the only thing that they needed was a kiss from Wendy. So she kisses Peter and turns him
Oh,
back. And then she kisses Hook and turns him back as well.
oh dear.
It was weird.
That was so weird. I was wondering if they were like trying to set up kind of have a spin-off show, I don't know what
If
that would
they
be.
were, it didn't go anywhere because I
Yeah, it
don't
didn't
think
go
anything came
anywhere.
after this.
Well, and Hook and Peter Pan got, brought back to life. Thank goodness. Weren't forever
Yeah.
cast in stone. Oh wow. Just one final question for you on it, John. What's your take of using, these existing characters in a show like this? I mean, should they have used original characters and done something kind of piratey, but
I think that they probably were trying to go for a happy medium since the main characters were all original.
Yeah,
It's
that's true.
just the
Jake and Izzy, and yeah.
yeah, the reason I'm talking about the ones with Peter Pan so much is just because those are the ones I wanted to watch. Like there's like
Gotcha.
100 episodes with no characters other than Captain Hook and Smee that you would
It's
recognize.
me. Yeah.
So the rest of the characters are all like new pirates. There's a flock of mermaids, I think, that become main characters. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in the show that is just to this show. Like they made up their own thing. I think that they used the setting of Neverland as something to draw viewers in, but
Yeah.
then they went in their own direction with it. And then just the special episodes had Peter Pan and Wendy and John and Michael.
Okay.
But it is weird. I look at it as non-canon. This is just them
Right.
wanting to tell a story with recognizable characters.
Yeah. Well, and in the 90s, I remember too, there was not that we're necessarily for preschool, but there was a Little Mermaid
Yeah,
series,
I remember an Aladdin
Aladdin.
series. And like I said, we didn't have Disney Channel, so I saw some Aladdin when it was on one of our channels.
Yeah, because it seemed like they would show it on Saturday morning,
There was also
but
a show that I don't even remember what it was called, but there was a live action Belle telling stories,
yeah.
like Belle from Beauty and the Beast.
Uh-huh.
I might be mixing up two different shows, but I feel like she was telling stories from
Yeah.
like the Book of Virtues or something. Like that was a different show. I don't know if it was the same show or not, but like it was, she would tell random stories and there'd be cartoons and yeah, I don't really remember. I was very young at that time,
Hmm.
like super young, so that I only remember like vague snippets of it from my
Sure.
memory. But yeah, I guess this is not something new. They use their regular characters in spin-off ways for little kids. They've been doing it for years, so it's not like this is a new thing, but it just feels kind of weird when when it's something like this, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
But it was interesting. I'm glad I watched what I did just so I'd have a flavor of what it was, but I'm not
Yeah.
planning on watching anymore. I was so bored through most of this.
I really am gonna hunt down the Sharon Osbourne.
She's actually in quite a few episodes.
Okay, find Sharon Osbourne, and then I might watch that last one. It just sounds so weird. Although maybe if it's because I need some help falling asleep, I could turn it on.
Yeah, it would be a good way to fall asleep. I almost
Yeah,
did on some of these.
yeah,
But yeah, that's Jake and the Neverland Pirates. It was interesting. Glad I watched it. Not planning on going any further with it. Okay, well, we will be back next time because we're going to be talking about, as far as I know, the final or most recent, I guess, spin-off in the Peter Pan franchise. We'll be talking about Peter Pan and Wendy, and Mark Brown will be joining us for that episode. So
Excellent.
until then, do you want to let people know where they can find you?
Yes, I'm on Twitter at Stanford Clark, and I have a movie podcast and blog at moviespastandpresent.com.
Okay, well, we will see you next time. Thanks for listening to Every Version Ever. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe and follow my co-hosts as well. My link tree and all of our links will be in the description below. If you want more of my content, all my podcasts are available on YouTube as well as most podcast platforms. If you enjoyed this show, check out one of the other podcasts or check out my Patreon for bonus and extended episodes you won't find anywhere else. We'll be back soon with another brand new episode, so thanks for listening and we'll see you next time.